How's everybody doing today? All right, it's a rainy spring day. That's the kind of thing that we like because we like a nice green May. And it'll be nice and beautiful by May. Right now, I would think you would all agree with me. It's a little gray and icky, but it's not cold. And I hate the cold. Anyway, I'm getting ready to paint down here. And yesterday I was flipping through all sorts of news and stuff, trying to find anything that was valuable. I could go right past garbage, but that's when I was listening to something and they interrupted to talk about the passing of O.J. Simpson. And it's funny how certain things like that can take you right back to a specific moment and place in your life. It put me right, I remember where I was when I remember where I was when I watched the car chase too. I was for a better part of that car chase, I was at Pastor Gary Peterson's house in Riddle, Oregon. That's a long time ago. Anyway, so I remembered that, but then I remembered hearing the verdict, and I remember where I was because I was working, and I was a wildland firefighter, and we had all gathered into our crew house, and I listened to the OJ verdict on the radio. And I heard cheers and all this other stuff, and then I heard some gasps, and we were all shocked and upset. And it's not like I wanted to see OJ go to prison, but I didn't want to see him get away with something like murder. And if you're young, you don't understand. People in my age group and older, we may have had a bit of an attachment to OJ because he was a great football player and he was a really funny guy, very funny, and we liked him. And to see this happen to a guy like him was horrible, but if you followed any of the trial or anything, if I would have been on a jury, I would have, unless there's something I really didn't see or know, this guy killed these two people and he just got away with it. And I was young, I was in my 20s, I probably didn't comprehend why he got away with it. Now jurors have come out and said, well, we were afraid of riots. We got that hanging over our heads right now. If Donald Trump wins the presidency, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. That shouldn't stop you from voting the way you want to vote, but they are going to hang some riots over our heads, and they are going to have some riots if he wins. But you should vote for him anyway if you were going to. If you're not going to, that's not my business either. But I can tell you this. They said they were afraid of riots. It hadn't been that long before that the Watts riots happened. The Rodney King trial tore that whole area up. And so it wasn't so much is OJ guilty or not. It's could we stand a certain section of the United States and of our community exploding over his guilty charge. And my question was always, why would a correct guilty charge cause you guys to lose your minds? Well, I didn't have the perception that other people had, that other people understood it like, okay, there's lots of white guys that can buy their way out of trouble. Finally, a black guy did it. Now, I've never been in that category because it's not really divided up into race like they want to tell you. It is just divided up into the haves and the have-nots. That's how we're divided in the United States anyway. So at a pretty young, I was pretty young when I started comprehending that. You know, if you're rich, you can get away with a lot. If you're not, justice may or may not prevail or whatever's going on. You may or may not get away with these things. But if you're rich, you can get away with it. That's what I've seen most of my life. And so it was just really horrendous in my mind to see that he got away with it and certain segment of society, and I say certain segment because I'm not saying all black people celebrated it. I'm not saying all white people were upset with it. I'm just saying this thing happened, and it was the first time for me in my 20s, and this is in the 90s, that I looked at it at society and thought, there's still a divide here. I don't think it's the divide we think it is, but sure enough, the powers that be, the ones that will separate you, have used that divide to continue to separate us and to continue to actually cause us to pit against one another instead of join together and love one another the way we should. And it's a shame because I think we could all agree on certain things if it wasn't for that. I think that they've pounded us with racism instead of understanding this is a have and have not in this country. You're either going to be rich enough to get out of this, or you're going to get buried for it. Now, I personally don't think if anybody's guilty of anything, they should be getting away with it, rich or poor. See, I think justice should work for everyone. But as we have seen right now, it's not working for everyone. We have very rich politicians. They get away with everything. So do their children. I wonder which child is getting away with the most right now. These people, these men, these women can be blamed for tons of stuff. They could have fingers pointed at them across the aisle. And it could be point blank obvious. Hillary Clinton. And nothing's going to happen. They have. And we need to unite with each other and deal with them and make justice work the right way. And it's just another one of those things. OJ brought all that to mind because to me it was clear-cut case. Watch the trial. He did it. And I think most people that celebrated him getting away with it knew he did it too. That wasn't the point. The point was it's about time a black guy got away with something. And that's the world we live in now. It started then, little tiny traces of it. But now what we've got is they're flipping this whole thing. And they're trying to pit us against one another. Not good, not healthy, not what God intends for his children to behave like. And I pray that through this rest of this year, the things that are about to happen, the people don't fight with each other physically over the outcome of an election or a trial. We've got all sorts of things coming up. There's people in court, there's indictments, there's impeachments, and there's an election. And if they have their way, this will be one of the most volatile years in the United States of America. But let's let God have his way. Let's let Jesus prevail. Let's let the spirit of kindness and forgiveness and understanding come in. And then let's work to get justice where it's supposed to be. It's a dream. It's not the outcome most of the time anymore, but it's a dream that we should have. Anyway, I'm going to paint a picture and relax on this rainy day. So, talk to you later.